Sony's Xperia XZ3 released in April of this year, and it's a really weird phone. It's totally different from Sony because they used to be super streamlined and flat, and now they're really curvy and they're kind of basing everything off of this water design that they've come up with. Well, it's only been 4 or 5 months now, and they've already released the Sony Xperia XZ3. The XZ3 is probably what the XZ2 should have been. It's now got an OLED display, which is pretty much the marquee feature of this phone. Now, Sony's Bravia line is a really great line of TVs, and they use OLED panels, and I would have thought that Sony would have brought those OLEDs over earlier. Still though, you're left with something that looks great, vibrant, and is actually fully HDR capable, just like it was in the XZ2, but it just looks a lot better on this bright OLED display. They also managed to slim down the bezels on the side of the screen, so it just looks a lot more compact, and the screen just looks a lot fuller at 6 inches. Now, like I said, it's been like 4 months, so the internals of this phone are pretty much the same, save a few different little changes. It's still got Qualcomm's latest processor, still got 4 gigs of RAM, still got 64 gigabytes of storage, but the changes here are in the camera and a couple other little departments. Now, the main camera is the same. It's still that 19 megapixel sensor, but the selfie camera has been upgraded to 13 megapixels, and it's actually got an f1.9 aperture, which lets in more light than the last generation. The battery's also been improved. It's 3300 milliamp hours, so you should get a little more battery life, especially since OLEDs are generally a little bit more battery capable. They've also made an improvement on the stereo speakers because people were saying that it didn't get quite loud enough last year, so they kind of boosted them a little bit, so you should get a little more bass and treble. Besides the screen, one of the biggest changes in this phone is the software. It's got Android P out of the box, and that's kind of a big deal because we haven't really seen that many phones that came shipped with Android P stock. Of course, with Android P, you get all those new AI features like guessing which apps you're gonna use next, and it seems like they've built that into a new Edge feature, but don't worry, it's not HTC Edge Sense. In Sony's version, you just kind of tap where the screen meets the body, and it brings up a little menu that guesses what apps you're trying to use, so you can kind of just jump between apps a little more quickly. And those are really the major changes to this phone. You're still getting all the crazy features that Sony usually throws in their devices, like the high-res audio codecs, super slow-mo camera mode, and even the dynamic vibration motor that debuted in the XZ2. Of course, if you want a phone that does pretty much everything, you're gonna have to pay a pretty high price. The Xperia XZ3 costs $900, which is a pretty high price to pay, but we did just see Samsung unveil the Note 9 at $1,000 with most of the same features, so it's kind of up to you whether or not you're willing to shell out the money for this thing. You can pick up the Xperia XZ3 on October 17th, which is like 6 months away from the Xperia XZ2, but we just saw BlackBerry and OnePlus do the same thing, so it might be becoming the norm now. Anyways, leave your thoughts in the comment section down below, and you can check out the article by hitting the link below as well, and stay tuned because of course, we are your source for all things Android.